Welcome. I'm Mike Nye.
And I'm Tarran Merlo from the Hail and Well Met podcasts.
And I'm Alex C. Telander from the Ostium Network. And welcome to our Tea-cast. While there is tea, there is hope.
Welcome to another episode of While There Is Tea, There Is Hope. This is episode 6 that I've dubbed Lord of the Teas, which you'll find out why as we get further into the episode. With me, I have wonderful Tarran Merlo, a fellow Tia, with me. Say hi to
you. Good morning. Good morning. It's still morning over here, so I'm having my morning cup of tea with you.
But evening or morning, always a good, perfect time to have tea.
It is. It doesn't matter. It's the drink for every hour, which means you have a cup every hour on the hour.
24 of them, yeah.
Exactly. Although I'm sure we talked about in previous episodes that too much tea is potentially bad for you, so we don't recommend excess consumption of anything. Yeah, little medical disclaimer there. Right?
Unless you've got a dialysis machine handy or something, but yeah. Heavy work on the kidneys.
Or if you live in ancient Roman times and you purge after every meal. That's not good for you either.
Podcast.
Yeah. An entire podcast dedicated to Roman purging.
I know. And if you just look for purge, you might find something else entirely too. So, yeah.
Thank you to clear your search
history.
Anyway,
sounds like you're in fine spirits, Tarran.
Very much so. Very much so. How about yourself?
So let's start. I'm good, thank you. And let's start with how we always start. What are you drinking?
Well,
this morning,
right now, and for those of you not on the Zoom chat between Alex and myself, which is everyone else listening, I have a cup of unmilked Down Under Daintree, which is a loose leaf from Seven Seas Tea.
It's down. So Down Under. What did you say it was Down
Under Daintree. Now Daintree is a rainforest in Queensland, I believe. So it's northeast state of Australia. And I'll read the little back of the packet here.
Yeah.
It's got a cool little piece. So, born on the shores of the Indian Ocean and blessed by the bounty of our region, we have sailed the seven seas to bring you the freshest and tastiest loose leaf teas from around the globe. So that's the little seven seas spiel. Down Under Daintree is a pure, unblended, 100% Australian-grown tea cultivated in the heart of the tropical Daintree wilderness in North Queensland. There we go. I got it right. Without the use of pesticides. Enjoy this well-rounded, medium-strength black tea, low in caffeine and high in antioxidants. And I would have to agree with it. It is a very well-rounded black tea. I have added a tiny, tiny touch of coconut sugar. I was going to add some honey, but couldn't find
coconut sugar. Interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard that.
It's a fairly mild sugar. Doesn't have a lot of sweetness to it, so quite a nice little kick.
Do you get any of the coconut flavor with it though, or no?
No, not really. It's just added the sweetness to it, which which is good. It doesn't sort of.
And how do they make coconut sugar? Do they put like white sugar in a coconut and leave it for 6 months and then?
No, apparently it's part of the process of when you desecrate coconut or desiccate it. Either way,
What a same applies to graves, right?
Exactly. Although getting sugar out of graves, that's tricky.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, part of that process apparently is extraction of sugar.
Interesting.
More on this coconut podcast later.
So very much a local tea you're having.
It is. Well, local for Australia, but the other side of the country. So what's that?
Yeah.
3,500, 4,000 kilometers away.
Yeah.
So
yeah, quick jaunt.
Exactly.
Yeah. You go there often, right?
Well, we are planning on heading over in October, COVID dependent. Although at the moment it's not looking great.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I was there was my honeymoon with my wife. So that's a number of years ago. I won't say how many, but a number. So yes, that's me for today. I've got still most of a cup, so I'll be slowly sipping that throughout the talk.
It's hitting the spot.
It very much is. What about yourself?
So I am drinking. It is the brand is Stash Tea, and it's called Christmas Morning. Even has it in French on there too. Matande Noel. I had this it was actually from my sister-in-law that she got for my wife and I at Christmas, sent it to us because obviously last Christmas was heavy COVID and no one was seeing anyone, but she sent it to us. And my immediate thought was, oh, it's going to be all Christmassy. So it's probably really sweet and, I don't know, tasting of Christmassy things. I probably won't like it. So I had never had any. And now this evening, as I was getting ready to do this, I was thinking, oh, I need to find a tea to be drinking at the same time, something new and different. And I saw that, so I'll give it a shot. And it's actually not Christmassy at all. It is. So it's a black blended tea with a hint of jasmine green tea in it. And so I did that, made it decently strong with a bit of sugar, like I do most of my teas. And yeah, it's really nice, actually. I wouldn't think Christmas at all, and I don't need to associate that with it at all ever again. It's just a nice black tea with a little kind of like, twist at the end. It's almost like you'd think it's not citrusy, but there's some extra little flavor that makes it a little more interesting and enjoyable.
The instant you said Christmas, I was thinking, a black tea with mint and maybe some cinnamon, a little bit of herbs and spices to it to bring out this festive, mood. But that's nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah,
yeah. I think there's another one that's, because this is Christmas morning. I think there's Christmas Eve or something too. Maybe that'll be more traditional, but I'll try that one maybe next time and see what it's like.
Or is that one you mix with boiled eggnog?
Yeah. Yum. All right, so we're going to kick off this episode talking about the Boston Tea Party. I know we mentioned it a few times before, mainly because we didn't have a full clue of what we were talking about. We're just taking guesses, and I think we found a quick little summary. But this time we've got a big kind of deep dive into it. So I thought we'd read the history of it, the wiki, and then discuss a little. I'll start off.
So before you jump in, I have to admit, as a kid growing up in Australia, not really knowing American Civil War and Revolution War and those sort of things, this was always a really weird thing, to talk to hear, and not having access to the internet as a child, hinting at age there. I
remember those too. Yeah. Before the squiggles and beeps,
before the death of each computer, whenever you signed off,
and when you could only, if you were using the internet, no one could call you because it was all the same phone line.
Exactly. The whole thing of the Boston Tea Party. You sort of thought this. Obviously, as a kid, it had these connotations of sitting around a table having a nice cup of tea together, and maybe some scones and jam and cream and that sort of thing, but never part of obviously the implications of what it is and what we know now as adults. But in Australia, it was never this discussed thing. Adults knew, vaguely what the Boston Tea Party was about, but that was about it.
Though just the name makes it seem pretty innocent. I mean, there's other events, like I'm just thinking of like the Boston Massacre. There's just various events that have like something more fraught tied to it in the name, whereas this sounds pretty innocent, and unless you know it, it would sound like something kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's all have a Boston Tea Party this evening. Yeah. Why not? Sounds wonderful.
Lovely.
I was also thinking, with me, my associations, I mean, not, growing up and going to school in America, it was something I had to learn about later. But also being here during the Bush years and then into the Obama years, there was a thing that came out with this insane, basically right-wing conservative group that was known as the Tea Party.
Okay.
And they were just horrible people.
Oh.
And I think they're still around to some degree. But so that's my automatic association with it too. So I already have this negative with it. But I was also thinking, are there any other, we should probably research this, but are there any other, like, catastrophic tea events or negative tea events, in history? Might be something for an episode, maybe.
Yeah. Might be have to do some research into that.
Assuming there is, if there's nothing, then there won't be an episode. Right. But if there is something, then we could scour the dregs of the internet and see what we could find.
As opposed to the dregs of your
maybe it was called like the Boston Party Catastrophe Tea or something like that.
Oh, I like that. Catastrophe Tea. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue. Maybe that's why they tried it. It didn't work. Anyway, let's get started. So The Boston Tea Party was an American political and mercantile protest by the Sons of Liberty in Boston, Massachusetts on December 16th, 1773. The target was the Tea Act of May 10th, 1773, which allowed the British East India Company to sell tea from China in American colonies without paying taxes, apart from those imposed by the Townshend Acts. The Sons of Liberty strongly opposed the taxes in the Townshend Act as a violation of their rights. Protesters, some disguised as American Indians, destroyed an entire shipment of tea by the East India Company. The demonstrators boarded the ships and threw the chests of tea into the Boston harbor. The British government responded harshly, and the episode escalated into the American Revolution. The Tea Party became an iconic event of American history, and since then, other political protests, such as the Tea Party movement, see earlier in this episode, have referred to themselves as historical successors to the Boston protest of 1773. Oh, so there's an actual link then with the Tea Party. That makes sense, which I didn't know about. You may continue, Tarran, with the rest of it.
Fantastic. The Tea Party was the culmination of a resistance movement throughout British America against the Tea Act, which had been passed by a British Parliament in 1773. Colonists objected to the Tea Act because they believed that it violated their rights as Englishmen to no taxation without representation. That is, to be taxed by only by their elected representatives and not by a British Parliament in which they were not represented. In addition, the well-connected East India Company had been granted competitive advantages over colonial tea importers who resented the move and feared additional infringement on their business. Protesters had successfully prevented the unloading of tea in 3 other colonies, but in Boston, embattled Royal Governor Thomas Hutchinson refused to allow the tea to be returned to Britain. The Boston Tea Party was a significant event in the growth of the American Revolution. Parliament responded in 1774 with the Intolerable Acts, or Coercive Acts, which, among other provisions, ended local self-government in Massachusetts and closed Boston's commerce. Yeah, that's a great response. Colonists up and down the how to de-escalate. Oh, you know what? Let's do more.
Up the ante, if you will.
Oh, I like it. Colonists up and down the 13 colonies in turn responded to the Intolerable Acts with additional acts of protest and by convening the First Continental Congress, which petitioned the British monarch for repeal of the acts and coordinated other colonial resistance to them. The crisis escalated and the American Revolutionary War began near Boston in 1775.
Very interesting. So basically, tea led to the founding of America, of the United States.
Without tea, there would have been no America. It would have been, well, no United States of America. The British States of America. The East India States of America.
Because it was the lighting of the fuse attached to the powder keg, with gunpowder, not tea, maybe gunpowder tea. And it started the whole thing going. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Interesting. And of course, England responded in a nice, calm, and reassuring way by blowing everything out of proportion and turning it up to 11.
Exactly. Just taking it to an extreme. It perplexes me that governments then truly didn't appreciate how escalating like that was going to cause the opposite effect. And I guess a part of that, you see a huge jump or differentiation in the ability to judge cause and effect compared to today, where we have access to almost instantaneous messaging and
communication.
Exactly. Whereas then, the reaction to the tax implications and the changes that were there is days, weeks, months of time, which unfortunately means, while that messaging was going back to the UK, everyone in America was feeling worse. And then the message came back from the UK, well, hey, we're going to escalate, which the response to that took a period of time.
Back and forth. You're talking at least a month of travel one way. It's like, communicating with someone on another planet where there's time delay. And
it just causes, it allowed things to escalate. Not saying that the UK and the British government in any way tried to stop that or downplay or do any of the positive things that you would expect someone to do. But even if they had have, chances are it may not have worked anyway, given those time delays. But yeah,
I always wonder if it's. Oh, just reading this, it feels almost too like it's the British arrogance which they've had since becoming a world power of just assuming everyone will automatically bow down, but always follow the rules, and you just have to slap them on the wrist and they will automatically fall in line. And when they don't, then you don't really know how to handle it.
Yep. So, while in prep for today, I was sort of looking around for, I guess, complementary bits of information into the Tea Party, and came across the History Channel, or history.com, has a 10 things that you might not have known about the Tea Party.
Oh, cool. Fantastic.
So I thought I'd go through those and sort of summarize them a little bit, because there's some long-winded parts in there.
And tea stick, maybe.
But apparently, so going just from 1 to 10, the Tea Partiers weren't protesting a tax hike, but a corporate tax break. So the whole problem, as far as this article is concerned, is it reduced the total tax on tea sold in America by East India Company, allowing colonists to purchase tea at half the price paid by British consumers. So it sort of said, hey, East India Company, come here. You've got these huge tax breaks to come and bring tea here. And it's the Tea Act left this 3 pence per pound duty, which was this tax put in place, again, by British Parliament, enforced by the Parliament external to America, external to these colonists. So again, the whole we're self-governing here. We don't want higher taxes. We don't want political involvement here from a third party who doesn't even live in this country, who doesn't live physically here. Go away and stop doing that. So that as the catalyst there, more than hey, it's a tax increase. Well, no, it's a tax break for the East India Company. You're helping out that business that's ultimately making you guys heaps of money.
I mean, boiling that down to just that, a corporate tax break, it just like slams home in our current period, time with Amazon and whatever, Tesla, any big corporation.
Exactly.
It's like that they talk about how much they don't pay in taxes compared to the average person. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Number 2.
Which adding to that, and this one comes into it, which is where number 2 is, that it was more commercial interest, perhaps more than political, that motivated a lot of the protesters. And feeding into that, the Tea Act was effectively a government bailout for the East India Company, which was, using modern times, it was too big to fail. If it died, it would bring down everything.
Bailout, too big to fail. I feel you sound familiar to me for some reason, living in our current era.
Exactly. The whole thing gave East India a virtual monopoly on tea, bypassing merchants and middlemen, and undercut the price of smuggled Dutch tea. So it allowed the official government, the official company that was doing it, well, official inverted commas, to undercut smugglers. Bringing it in on the cheap. Hey, we'll bring your tea in, cheaper, because we'll just smuggle it in and away we go.
Right. Well, I can't remember I don't know if we covered that in an episode yet. I don't think we did, but I do remember reading it in the book, and in a future episode we will talk about it, where they were. I remember them smuggling it in.
Yeah.
They snuck it into these warehouses, and then it was all divvied up and sent around the towns and stuff. And
which it was quite interesting there. So again, as you said, all rang true to current political climate. Everything changes, but it all stays the same.
It all comes down to money. Shocking.
I am shocked. So number 3, George Washington condemned the Boston Tea Party. Although he's one of America's foremost revolutionary figures, he wrote in June 1974 that the cause of Boston will ever be considered as the cause of America, and strongly voiced his disapproval of their conduct in destroying the tea. So I very much like Washington in this sense, that not that I didn't like him in any other way previously, but that quote of their conduct in destroying the tea was unbecoming,
So
anyone.
he appreciated the act, but he regretted the sacrifice.
Correct. Yes. Yes. So Washington, like many other elites, held that private property was to be sacrosanct, and that those that destroyed the tea should compensate the East India Company for the damages. Interestingly,
Oh.
yeah. Number 4, it was the British reaction to the Boston Tea Party, not the event itself, that rallied America, which we've talked about before. So
Yep.
it wasn't the Tea Act that the UK went.
So maybe the Tea Act was laying the fuse, and then what Britain did was lighting the fuse.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, they didn't put the Tea Act down, and America went, well, we're going to war, and Britain went, okay. It was, no, here's the Tea Act. Well, we don't like the Tea Act. Okay, well, because you don't like that, we're going to do these intolerable acts as well. Let's see how you like that. And then it went onwards.
Pushed them over.
Yeah. For decades, the identities of the participants of the Boston Tea Party were shrouded in secrecy. So even today, only the names of some of the participants are known, not sort of the deeper sort of understanding of who they are.
Behind them.
Yeah. Number 6, the event wasn't dubbed the Boston Tea Party until almost 50 years later, in 1826. It was where one of the earliest newspapers referred to the Boston Tea Party. In the third,
But they don't say what they called it before that. Did they call it anything?
it was blandly referred to. I mean, if you're going to do something like this, you have to have a snappy name. You just, yeah.
So I guess they didn't know it was going to have such, knock-on effects
True.
and seismic waves.
So they refer to it as the destruction of the tea.
Ripples in the teapot cup.
It's just the destruction of the tea. I'm like, really? Come on, guys. Come on. Maybe it loses something.
Which is funny because
modern translation.
Is it? I can't remember if it's Boston. That's what the underground is called. I think the T, or is it New York? I can't remember. One of them is called the T.
There we go.
As in the letter T.
There you go.
Maybe it is Boston, and it's a little inside joke.
If any Bostonians are listening, you should let us know. Number 7, there was actually a second Boston Tea Party, which was 3 months after. They once again sent tea splashing when 60 disguised men boarded the Fortune in 1774, forced the crew below deck and dumped tea chests into the harbour. Wasn't quite as impressive as the original, as only 30 chests were sent overboard. Which I'm not exactly sure.
And someone yelling, "Try something new."
If we had social media in those days, it'd just be like, oh, gee, this is old. 3 months ago. Come on. But that wasn't the last one, apparently. So subsequent tea parties were also held in other colonies. So Tea Act protests in 74 spread to New York, Annapolis, Charleston, South Carolina, and patriots dumping teas or burning the tea in protest. So it wasn't isolated. It was then held up as a thing to do to protest. The financial loss, which is one that I've always found really interesting to see sort of what it actually meant.
Was it terrible?
that pun was. It's estimated that protesters tossed more than 92,000 pounds of tea into Boston Harbour. So the equivalent of...
So not weight, monetary value.
Well, no, that was weight, apparently.
Oh, yeah. That was the weight.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So that's the equivalent of 18.5 million tea bags.
Oh.
So present day value of the destroyed tea is estimated to be around $1 million, which it doesn't sound like a huge amount in current day, but remembering that it was $1 million of heavily discounted, government subsidied, get out of jail free kind of, we're going to help you stay afloat money to the East India Company. So, it's the equivalent of saying, what was one of the organizations during the GFC that needed a bailout? Kind of pick from the list kind of thing. Hey, we're going to give you $1 million, to help you through this, through this time, and then having their product destroyed to that value. It's a pretty big hit.
And plus, it's not necessarily something you can just go to the shops and restock on. It has to come from the other side of the world.
Yeah, well,
it takes time.
but both sides of the world kind of a few times around, right? Because most of the tea was grown there.
Sure,
so India to the UK, then across to America. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And the last one tea partier apparently appeared to rise from the dead. So, after being knocked unconscious by a falling crate of tea in the hold of the ship, John Crane was reportedly thought to be dead and hidden by his compatriots under a pile of wood shavings in a nearby carpenter's shop. He awoke hours later, however, and was the only man harmed in the entire Boston Tea Party event. Yeah.
I wonder if this, I'm just thinking of talking about all this, if this is why, for the most part, Americans don't like tea, because it's become part of the, historical fabric and psyche of, American history, and it's woven into everything, through the generations of what happened and because of tea and the British, on some level. It's just a genetic almost, aversion to it or something.
That wouldn't surprise me. I actually had another site that, with the commercials of it, that put the value of the tea at about 1.7 million. So obviously fairly flexible there, but in money, in cost at the time, it was just under £10,000, to the East India Company. So again, doesn't sound like a lot these days, but I'm sure it was pretty detrimental to them.
Cool. Any last thoughts on
No,
the tea? What was it called originally again? The tea.
the destruction of the tea.
The destruction of the tea.
There is I guess two thoughts. Firstly, one was there is a website for the Boston Tea Party ship, which is quite fun, a revolutionary experience. It's a museum, but they have quite a few. If you're after some memorabilia, they have quite a few cool things on their website.
I'll have to link it in the show notes too.
Yes, so they've got a few interesting and pretty cool things on there. Some memorabilia, some bits and pieces, but they do have a few tea and tea related items. So you can get a Robinson half chest of replica box with or without the 5 teas of the Boston Tea Party. So the teas that were being imported.
Does it have dimensions? How big is it?
I'm not sure. The picture is potentially very, very misleading, depending on. No, it doesn't have dimensions, but I would say
it could be the size of a giant sea chest, or it could be the size of a small box.
I'm probably putting it at about maybe a 10 centimeter cube. So 3 or 4 inch cube. Yeah.
Not to scale.
No. But they do have a range of different teas in different canisters and the like. They've got some pretty cool looking tea sets, some teapots and the like as well, which is pretty interesting. And they have a little black book, and this is something that I'm thinking I might have to pick up. The Little Black Book of Tea, the Essential Guide to All Things Tea.
Oh, sounds
so good. Yeah, I'm gonna do some reading into it, and sort of see what's there. It's a 160-page pocket-sized book, offers a brisk and full-bodied look at tea varieties, grades, teas of the world, and brewing basics. This tribute to tea includes recipes for hot and cold and accompaniments. Steep yourself in the Essential Guide to All Things Tea, the new coffee.
Now, is it linked at all with the Boston Tea Party and the historical period or anything, or is it just...
No, I don't think so.
Book?
It looks like
it's a recently written book.
Yeah.
It's not from 1779.
No. So actually, now that would be something to look at getting a hold of. So, yeah, but no.
That's what I was also wondering too. With the teas being tossed into the harbour, was it just one kind of tea, or was it a bunch of different ones?
So, according to this, there were 5 different teas, but I don't know again if that's correct or not.
Or was that because they did it 5 times and each time it was a different cup of tea?
Oh, there we go. So
I wonder if they ever tried it with the Boston Harbor water in some way. Kind of like when Mike was talking originally about the bergamot and having it be with the lime from the pipes and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's a
if you
good
had it
point.
with the Boston Harbor water in some way, it might have done something new.
Maybe if you were if you're quite the astute businessman, you could have as it was all being poured out, you could have just bottled it and sold it as Boston tea. I'm sure you would have made a mint.
Yeah, sure, that's tea leaves, I think. Yeah, it's a little black thing. Yeah, probably tea leaves.
Floating away. Yeah, just don't look too closely. What's that taste? Yeah, it's the tea.
Make sure you use a strainer. Yeah. I'm curious to see if there was a Boston Tea Party tea. Well, there's lots of pretend things, I'm guessing. Yeah. Boston Harbor tea, Boston Tea Party tea, teas of the Boston Tea Party. That's this little, where is it? From Oliver Pluff and Co. in Charleston.
Here we go. What tea was thrown overboard during the tea party? Okay, so Benjamin Woods Labourese, the Boston Tea Party. So a text by this guy who I have no idea who that is. So caveat there. Says 3 tea ships containing 240 chests of bohea, Bohea, 15 chests, bohea. Okay.
Yeah,
15
actually,
of
Bohea, it's saying it's pronounced.
10 of Souchong, 60 of Singlo, and 15 of Hyson. So Singlo and Hyson both being green teas. So predominantly black, but...
Mm-hmm. And it says Congo is grown in southern China. Yeah, interesting. Oh, there we go. And that's what this particular site I'm looking at here. They have they're like test tubes of the tea. There's 5 little things. Yeah.
Okay. We should.
Interesting.
I have to do some more investigation there and maybe do some sampling.
Some more tea search.
I love it.
All right. I think we've talked the tea party to death, so let's move on. I don't really have any new teas to talk about, but I know you said you had some.
Yeah. We recently went, being COVID and being unable to travel anywhere else. I'm not upset by that per se, only because it's meant a recent holiday that I went on with my wife, my brother and his wife, and a couple of friends to celebrate my brother's 40th. So I'm younger than him, so that's all I'm going to say about age. I can continue to mock him. So we made our way down south of Western Australia again, and I went to Cowarramup, which is a town that I've mentioned a few times locally.
Yep.
And I have a tea shop there, which again I've mentioned, which is Seven Seas Tea. And
sounds amazing. I mean, it's what you're drinking today, right?
It is.
From Seven Seas.
Yes,
so, yeah.
I didn't get this one today from that trip. I'd had this one already. But on a previous trip...
Oh, real quick, weren't you also potentially doing an interview with them at some point?
Yes, yeah. So that's...
Okay.
I had a lovely chat with the owner and sort of put to her, would she be interested in having a chat? You know, that we do this podcast. We love drinking. We love chatting about it. She was initially very... sort of made the comment of, I don't know how I feel about that. And I sort of said, look, I appreciate that. It's a fairly daunting sort of idea, but we're fairly casual. And if she's listening now, this is the sort of show that we do. It's a fairly casual chat, not a formal interview, with structured everything.
No, not at all.
No.
Grilling or anything. No, it's done with love of tea
It is.
and friendship.
Very much so. I had a lovely chat with her around that, and hopefully I'll sort of be getting in touch with her shortly to...
So hopefully a future tea break episode with her. And so, yeah.
But on a previous trip down to that area of our state, I went to a chocolate shop and I got myself a tisane, not a tea, but a tisane of the husk of the cocoa beans that they use to make the chocolate. And I've had a few cups of that, and I've thought it was fantastic. It genuinely tasted like a hot chocolate. No milk, no sugar, just
Huh.
just brewing those for 3 or 4 minutes was plenty, and it was
Now,
brilliant.
are there tea leaves or tea bits, or
No,
what does it actually look
no
like?
actual tea at all in there, but it's
Well, I meant, what's the physical thing
Oh.
that you're soaking in the water?
okay. Yeah, so it's the husk of the cacao bean,
Mhm.
which looks like a 1/4 inch sort of square, broken up into pieces, sort of flat piece.
Mhm.
So it looks very much like a fairly large tea leaf. Sort of, compared to your normal.
And so is it like in a bag of all these different little pieces together, and then you take a few of them or whatever?
I
and-
don't know if you can see that on the that lighting quality's terrible.
No.
No,
But we'll have to post
I'll put
or whatever
photos
and
up.
link them in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when I was
On our website.
on the website, yes, yeah, I'm feeling the tension there. I've been lax with doing that. Sorry. So when I was at Seven Seas Tea, I was walking through and drooling at the range, and they had this choc berry with a hint of mint, and I went, "Oh, what is a chocolate tea? Interesting. Okay." So I walked up to it, and sure enough, it's outer husk of cocoa, the cacao bean rather, but this one is blended with a forest berry and a hint of mint. Apparently giving it quite a sweet taste. Now I haven't tasted it yet.
So it's still a tisane then.
It is a tisane. It's not a tea, so it's the cacao
It's
husk.
like different. Yeah.
But with berry and mint. So I'm actually really looking forward to trying it. I've held off.
Sounds like a Christmas hot chocolate.
It does exactly. The other tea that I had to refill because I'd gone through it and was craving it a few times was
Always a good sign.
It is was their Bon Voyage. So it's a French Earl Grey. Now again, I haven't opened this packet yet. I'm still drinking a few others and going through those first, but I needed this, and when I have my kick that I need, I'll jump back into the bag. But Bon Voyage is I'll read the little spiel on the back of the bag because it's quite fun.
Yeah.
Wishing you bon voyage as you sail off into the sunset with this delightful French favourite. Our classic Earl Grey is given an exotic twist with pretty petals of blue cornflower, rose and calendula, and the zingy zest of an orange peel. Almost too pretty to drink, this fragrantly black tea has a floral and citrus note which makes it perfect to enjoy on its own or with a slice of lemon. Now, I haven't had the slice of lemon in it. I love it just straight black brewed. It's super tasty. I absolutely love it. I can't get enough of it. It's good. It's a Sri Lankan black tea with, as I said, it's got bergamot, blue cornflower petals from Italy, orange peel from South Africa, rose petals, and calendula from Egypt. So a truly multicultural
but
tea.
nothing from Antarctica, so I don't know if I'll like
No. Ice crystals embedded in it.
it. From the deepest glaciers you can find.
That's why global warming.
So
Been breaking the glaciers for the tea.
There'll be a whole different Tea Party issue there. So for both the cacao one and this Earl Grey one, so how long do you brew them each for?
So the cacao is a there's no brewing instructions on the bag, which is interesting.
Well,
oh, no,
but you've had it, so how long do you do it for?
My mistake. I should read the other side. One teaspoon of tea per cup, freshly boiled water, so that's 100 degree but cooled slightly, so about 95 degrees.
Centigrade, by the way. Yep.
Correct, yes, not Fahrenheit. You'll be disappointed with that. You might need to let it brew overnight if you're doing that in Fahrenheit. So 95 degrees centigrade for 3 to 4 minutes. And as it says on the bag, but I'll endorse that of enjoy on its own. It doesn't need milk, doesn't need sugar. Well, at least the plain chocolate.
Your usual brewing time, then nothing special about it.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
With the French Earl Grey, it's given similar, but I would probably recommend, for me, I go with a 85 degree centigrade water. And I would let it brew for about 5 minutes at that lower temperature for the French Earl Grey. The bag has it sitting at freshly boiled for 3 to 4, but for me, I prefer it a little bit cooler, only because it's got because it's got the cornflower and the other floral taste to it, I find the hotter water tends to not burn them, but
Mix them together, maybe.
It,
Overdo it.
it detracts from some of the flavor.
It loses you being able to pick out each of the notes.
Yeah,
maybe, yeah,
exactly.
But by this, it implies that you have some sort of special kettle that brews at different temperatures.
Oh, do I? Oh, do I? I'm just
because mine, you put water in it and you press the button, and then when it boils, it clicks off, and that's when I know it's ready.
I look. I may have probably.
Also, I love how I have these short episodes planned, and we always just talk for hours, and they never end up being short ones. So, but anyway,
that's all right.
Continue.
No, I originally my kettle was, as you said, right. It was just what it is. Yeah, normal kettle. Flick it on, let it click off, and then give it a couple of minutes, and voila, water. We had a coffee machine that could dispense hot water at certain. Not temperature ranges, but quantities. So I was using that for a little bit, but we packed that away, and for various reasons. And I really miss being able to go, no, I need 200 mil or 300 mil of water, go, as lazy as that sounds. So I may have invested a few months back, maybe a couple of episodes into the Teacast, in a Westinghouse instant hot water dispenser, model number. No, I won't go into that, but I will put a picture up. But it.
Oh yeah, we can definitely link it too.
Yeah, it gets a lot of it got a lot of really good reviews. And I got this one mainly because our local Kmart, which is a Walmart sort of equivalent, had.
We did have Kmart here, but then they went out of business.
Oh, okay. It's going the opposite here for us. Kmart seems to be doing very well, and Target seems to be has shut down a whole bunch of stores.
Target. That's good. That's there. Yep.
Yeah. They had their own branded hot water dispenser that was fairly cheap at around $70 or something like that. And when I went to buy it, they'd sold out, and not just at my store, but they'd sold out around the country. And they only brought it back in about a week ago. So I was kicking myself because that was a lot cheaper than the Westinghouse one that I bought. But this in a lot of ways is a lot better. It can you can set its temperature in a ranges of 50, 65, 75, 85, and 100. That lets me set it to 85, which is my default for most of these, because I tend to, unlike my nana, my grandmother, who used to say she has a cast iron throat, and would drink a boiling hot cup of tea and think it's lovely. I've never enjoyed that.
I can tolerate it pretty well, but I usually wait a little bit.
Yeah. I just tend to not really enjoy it as much, so I go 85 degrees, and it lets me put it out in 100, 200, and 300 milliliter quantities. So for my...
Plus, I mean, you're not talking about that much of a difference, so it's not huge, but
yeah.
But especially if you're doing it a little bit less, if it helps with how the tea is brewing, then it's an important factor.
Yeah, exactly. And that quantity, that 300 ml, fits perfectly in my T2 little brewing all-in-one cup setup
thing.
Yeah, so that works really well for me.
Good.
Which. Yeah, and the other really good thing that I've found, being able to set it at a particular temperature and quantity, lets me standardize when I'm looking to compare. So as I've been going through in the background doing some reviews that we've talked about of the different teas we've been drinking, it lets me know for sure that yes, I've done this one at 85 degrees with this amount of water, and as opposed to guessing. Or having
and it gives you a chance then, as you say, that you've tried it at different temperatures and you've noticed a difference, so it does matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would, if you are drinking a lot of tea, I'd recommend a dispenser like this is good. Mainly the other benefit there is you sort of, it's got a lock function on it so that the kids don't burn themselves, which is all pro fan of that. But you can pretty much unlock it, put the temperature and everything you want, press go, and it's giving you hot well, it's giving you the temperature of water within 3-4 seconds. As opposed to having to wait.
Nice, yeah.
As opposed to having to wait for the kettle to boil. And
so, but it's not like one of these. I think it was a coffee maker, but it was one where you could. It was all like linked up with your phone, so you could start the coffee and set the temperature with your phone to start it brewing, and so that when you wanted it in the morning, it's ready.
No. I know we did talk about that one offline many months ago. I think Kickstarter had a particular one there that you could go and load it up and do all of this. But no, I think that the $200 or $300 cost that one had was sort of a little bit extreme for what you'd be using it for. But no, I'd recommend something like this if you're drinking a lot of tea. It's quick and easy. There are some cheaper versions of it as well. Sort of under 100.
I'd say, especially if you want to start, trying lots of different kinds of tea and getting some more pricier teas that are, a lot of work went into them and have a lot of ingredients and stuff to be able to pick out all the notes and stuff. It would make it worth it to have that little less temperature.
Yeah, and where they say this green tea must be 80 degrees, you don't really want to, that's about 80 degrees. I've left it for 2 minutes. That's about, no, unfortunately. Yeah, you buy a $50 little pot of tea only to burn it and think, oh well, that was a waste. But yeah, so
I want to find a tea that says cast iron throat required. So you talked about some new teas. Do you still have a tea recommendation for later too, or is that everything?
That's probably everything. I would recommend this this Down Under Daintree that I'm drinking. Just as an alternative to your standard English breakfast or your generic black tea that we have. It is really, it's subtle. It's very flavoursome, but it's not that leave that bitterness at the back of the throat when you've finished a sip or a cup. It's very rounded, as it says on the bag, and it's a very nice drinking tea. That would
good. Yeah. Well, I'll give my recommendation then that I've got this week too. Then since you don't have one, so I had it a few days ago. I think it was last week. We were originally planning to do the episode, and it was the one that Mike sent me, which was the T2 Monk Pear Tea.
Ooh.
And he'd sent me a little bag of it.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to expect with a name like that. But then after doing a little bit of research, it is a black tea with bergamot and then a flavor of pear with it. And yes, I really don't expect, but I really enjoyed it. It was definitely a black tea that went further than your usual black tea that doesn't do anything for you, just with and it makes sense now with the bergamot in it. But again, it was very mild. It wasn't like, oh, it's like an Earl Grey or whatever, or approaching that in any way. I like, and especially when you have fruits and different things in there that are more subtle instead of being like, it's this with this, and we're hitting you over the head with it, whatever. So it was really enjoyable. So that's the T2 Monk Pear. I tried to find out why it's called Monk, but I wasn't sure. I don't know if you know anything, Tarran.
No, I haven't tried it myself. So that's yeah.
Well, it's T2, so it's a local company. Mike probably has some too, since he gave me some. Are you researching it?
I've literally just typed in monk.
Yeah. And I got a lot of sites and stuff, but nothing really specific.
So
other than when I read the ingredients, it's like, oh, that makes sense.
I've heard of monk fruit being used as an alternative sweetener. In alternative to sugar and the like. But I've not. Huh. Okay, here we go. Apparently, monk fruit tea is also known as Lanhangao tea, Southeast Asian tea. Oh no, hang on. That is monk fruit. Okay, Lanhangao is monk fruit, and has a lot of natural health benefits to it. So a lot of throat related health benefits. So relieving sore throat, nagging coughs, getting rid of fevers, those sort of things.
Right. But I mean, is this the same thing? Because this is just the Monk Pear, it's called. So I don't know if that's the same.
Yeah.
Or is it like a kind of pear?
Yeah, is it? Okay. No, there we go. Apparently. Oh, okay. This is even more confusing because apparently pear and monk fruit are combined quite nicely together. I don't know. I think I'm going to have to get some of this from Mike and give it a shot.
Right, and get it. Well, maybe we'll put a pin in
Yeah.
it, and then for the next episode, maybe I bet Mike knows tons, and this is the one time we need him, and he's not available.
Exactly.
He wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we would have had him, and he could have been talking for hours about it.
Well, if it is monk fruit, he should be drinking a cup to help with his chest infection.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Have to hit him up afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'll move on to my other little weird segment I came up with, and I wanted us to just throw out like tea manufacturing names, big tea names to each other, and see if we recognize them. I was just curious to see if we have. Obviously, there's going to be some we both know very well, whatever, and some. I'm just curious to see if there's more smaller ones or other ones you've heard during your life that I might not know have come across.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
So I'll go with the obvious. Lipton. You've heard of Lipton?
Very much so. I think it's probably. Oh, gee. Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, no. Look, I mean, they make tea.
Yes, that's. I mean, at my local, it's always that's what you use for your iced tea. It's the most basic you can get.
Yeah, I mean, they do have some not fancy, but they have some other stuff out there. But as you've said it, I've literally jumped onto my local grocery shop. Yeah, to Coles
just to see that. Yeah.
And sort of typed in Lipton just to have a quick look and see what they've got in their range. First thing that comes up: Lipton black tea, 100 bags on special, $3.50.
Yep, exactly. Yeah,
that's pretty much what I expected to see there. But yeah,
right. All right, you pick one.
One of the other common ones is that we have is Tetley.
Yes.
Yep.
That one's a good one. That one, that's the one I use. I mean, I do actually get at my local too. That's I get it a large amount, but it always comes out. It's far superior in my mind to Lipton, and always tastes a lot better. And I have that's my go-to, like for a tea bag, a quick cup of tea that I want to be nice and strong with kick in it. I do that really quick. And and it's also why in Ostium it's mentioned too, because it's linked.
Fair enough.
Because I love the tea. Yeah.
According to Coles, it's not as good quality tea. Because I can get 100 bags for $2.50 on special.
Oh, well, maybe they make more of it because it's so popular.
That's very true.
That's the one I usually get. What is it? I usually get 60 or 80 bags for. I think it's about $5. Yeah.
Yep. Do you have any others?
And my wife likes that one too. Well, obviously Twinings. Yep. Or familiar with that again, little higher up. Yeah.
Yes. Well, their 100 bags at the moment are $11.20. So, you would expect 4 times the quality.
Right. Well, I mean, I usually for the Earl Grey or whatever, or English breakfast, even the tea bags can be definitely pricier, and that's unless it's on sale or a holiday thing. Especially if you want the loose leaf.
Yeah.
Loose leaf tin.
Well,
then it's like, well, that's a Christmas present.
That's one of those things that I know I can only get loose leaf from a standard shop like that. Tends to be in black tea, at least, tends to be Twinings. There tends to not be Lipton or Tetley tend to not do a loose leaf. So it's one of the only options in that range.
At one of my the other shop I go to sometimes they have good deals and stuff that cost the same, and then they have a lot of just nice variety stuff, really good vegetables and everything. But it usually costs a bit more because it's all local stuff they get it from and things like that. But they have a whole wonderful, huge tea section, which I always want to get. But everything's from, $10 and up for a thing, and it just I want to get it, but I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But one day maybe, because it always looks so good. All these different organic teas,
That's
all fancy names.
That's one of the reasons I like going down to Seven Seas and going down on the, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
holiday and I can justify to myself spending that little bit more on a nicer tea. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, give me another one.
Okay. Have you what about Dilmah?
No.
Dilmah. Okay. So Dilmah is a Ceylon
And how's it
tea.
spelled?
Dilmah.
Okay.
And the ad is I think it is, I'm going to get this
It's
completely
no big
wrong.
deal, Ma. No.
It's a very well known tea. It's handpicked in Ceylon. That the ad usually has. Well, I remember the ads going back years. It was the corporate head, I'm assuming the owner of Dilmah. He would he'd be out in the tea fields of India going through, and there'd be people there with their bags that they'd have around them, walking through the tea bushes, pulling the top leaves off, which we know is probably not reality, but sure, we'll go with that.
It looks good. Good PR.
It is.
Yeah, I've seen the logo and everything. I've never come across this.
Okay.
It's totally new.
Well, and he'd stand there in his ad, and at the end he'd have a lovely cup of tea on saucer and say, Dilmah, Dilmah tea, do try it, or do try my tea, or something like that. And it was always very lovely and had this very nice aesthetic to it. More recent ads in the last probably decade, it's him and his two sons.
Cool.
And I think there's even one of the ads where it's his son doing the speaking role, or it's a try our tea or do try our tea or something like that of that nature. But so yeah, family business from the sounds of it.
It does say single.
Yeah.
I was just Googling it, and I did like this thing. I say, we are like tea bags. We don't know our own strength until we're in hot water.
I love it. That's great. That'd go great on a shirt.
So there we go. I have to add that to the list and see if I can find it.
Sure.
anywhere. Yeah.
All right, your turn.
Do you know how it kind of ranks with all the other teas at all? With
Well, I can do a price ranking comparison.
oh, there you go. Check your. Yeah, there you go.
It sits above Lipton and Tetley. It's also on special at the moment. 100 bags for $4.40. So definitely sort of double the price of the Liptons and the Tetleys in that range. And I'd probably put
I do
the
see it
quality
being
there.
advertised as a single origin tea too, which sounds good.
It is, yeah. But no, lovely tea.
Okay, cool. What's the one I was trying to think of? Yes, let me make sure I'm getting it right, because if you say it weird, it might mean something else. Okay, yes. Hornerman's tea.
Definitely not heard of it.
Yeah, well, and of course, it sounds like horny man, but it's with an I.
So what are the ingredients? Let me just get my notepad.
For a horny man, or just okay? Well, you start with crushed rhino horn, shark fin, and that was another one that I haven't had in a very long time, but I remember seeing kind of around, definitely in England and stuff. It's an English tea, founded in 1826 on the Isle of Wight. It's weird because it's not. Does it say Hornerman's Tea Company? I was just trying to see if it's why it got named that, but it doesn't say. And again, they're earlier on. They're a very big name. Like in 1891, it said it was the largest tea trading business in the world.
Oh wow!
But it was one of those ones that it was on the shelves with all the other kinds of tea and stuff like that in England and Spain and stuff. I haven't had it in a long time, but be curious to try it again and see how it holds up with my more refined taste now that I've become older and wiser. Got any more?
Oh yes, there's a couple. Have you heard of Bushells tea?
Bushells, maybe.
B-U.
How do you spell it?
Hells. So Bushells. So it is
Maybe. Oh, I think I have seen it.
it is a very
At some point.
Australian
Yeah.
tea.
Mhm.
A guy, surprise, surprise, by the name of Alfred Bushell, in '83 opened his tea shop in Queensland, and it was known
I
as.
see the tagline: "Our cuppa since 1883."
There you go.
Yeah.
So it's sort of one of these. It's definitely become a known Australian tea. And quite a nice strong cup of tea. Yeah, and it's sort of
Actually, I can see some of the one's kind is extra strong.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting in the pictures, though. It always shows, not that it's, obviously everyone's different, but it clearly shows a cup of tea with milk in it.
Yes, it's very much been. Yeah, that's a really good point. I've never seen,
Which I haven't seen that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually it's tea leaves or black tea at least.
Yeah, but no, it's always been a very dark milky tea. It's not you wouldn't add a lot to it, but it's been very always been associated as a good strong Australian cuppa. And just a nice cup of tea as well. Definitely up there in the price range, sort of sitting below Twinings, but not by much. At sort of the $10 100 bag range.
What was the one that we were talking about in another episode with? I think it was Sean Bean doing ads for.
The other strong cup
labourer's
of tea.
tea.
That would be
the labourer's tea. What was
that?
It?
Would be Yorkshire tea.
Yorkshire. There we go.
Yeah.
Yes.
I very much link, in my mind at least, Yorkshire and Bushell's as very similar in the way they advertise themselves. Yeah, it's the tea you have, right? It's you want a good cup of nice strong cup of tea, have a Bushell's, or you have a Yorkshire tea. That's the tea you have.
Another one I do enjoy, which tends to cost a little more to get, is PG Tips.
PG Tips.
Have you heard of that one?
No.
Okay. Well, that one's pretty prevalent. I've seen that everywhere. Yeah, even over here. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, PG Tips.
PG Tips.
Again, a very iconic logo that you see everywhere and stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, it usually it's more in the price range of Twinings. Usually.
Okay. Oh, okay. So yes. Okay. Huh. Interesting.
Your local doesn't have it?
No, very much no. That's very interesting. Okay.
Got any more?
Yeah. There's probably
we'll do one more each.
Okay. Well, there's one that has jumped out at me, and again, it seems to have been a recent addition to the shelves. But it's Queen Victoria is the brand. Which I've not actually done a whole bunch of research on, outside to say, it's not a brand that's been around for decades and this sort of thing. In fact, I think, oh no, wow, look at that. I've just jumped on their website and you won't have heard of it because apparently it's only at Coles, which is the supermarket that we shop at. So it's
How is that spelled?
Just Queen Victoria. So as that.
No, the Coles.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Shop.
COLES.
Okay.
Yeah. So
we have a clothing store here with the same name,
Yes.
but it's KOHL.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah, just making sure. Okay.
Probably from the same
So
origin.
very
at some
local
point.
then. Maybe you have to add that to the list then as a new arrival and
Yeah.
give it a shot.
The packaging always looks fantastic. They're different teas are in different coloured boxes, but the front is embossed with the crown, and Queen Victoria, with a little bit of a fancy squiggle underneath, but it's this embossed gold sort of, very, very distinct, very nice looking. And I've always sort of gone, I think I want to try that. It looks amazing. It looks really interesting, but I've avoided it because
I'm seeing one here. It looks kind of similar, but it says Royal Palace Tea. But again, it's got the crown and all this embossed stuff on it.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. I don't know if it's related or not. Yeah. So the last one I was thinking of is Brook Bond.
Brook Bond. No, not one
That I feel was another one I saw ads of as a kid and saw around, and then just Googling it now, I've definitely seen the logo over here more. And again, it's I think on par with Lipton as you want some cheap tea. We got some cheap tea for you.
It sounded very conspiratorial. Hey, you want some tea? Opens his jacket.
Well, if you Google the logo, it looks very cheesy. So that's why it looks very like I did this in 3 minutes in Microsoft Paint and slapped it on the box. You know.
Oh, jeez. They've been around for a while, though, from the looks of it. 18.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, the name, I think it's a long time name, and that's what there's a whole conversation we can have about branding with tea and stuff too, and how it's changed over time with tea, and how a lot of things are just about, it's not even what the tea is like inside, it's all about what it looks like on the box and stuff.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Interesting history with him there. He started up in 1845. Was born in 1845. In 69, opened a tea shop in Manchester, but then expanded to wholesale tea in 1870s. Nice. Which, yeah, interestingly, started out as a small, small sort of group, small shop for himself. But yeah.
And I think, again, I've come across a lot of these names in the history tea book I'm reading. And again, a lot of these started like that. And now you see them, and you go to a shop in England, they're on all the shelves.
Oh, do you want some negative history of this one?
Oh.
Well, in 1968, the company merged with Liebig, becoming Brook Bond Liebig, which was then acquired by Unilever in 1984.
So Unilever owns Brook Bond, so that explains the crappy logo. And then anything else you were able to find?
Only, Unilever is part of those. Have you seen that graphic?
The big chain thing, whatever. Yeah, everything's connected, and then the big thing at the top is Unilever doing everything.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's sort of an unfortunate reality of the corporate world we live in.
Let's move on to our final segment. Tea puns. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
Well, I have one that is a little themed for the start. That was themed for the start of our discussion today.
So you actually worked on it, because I just Googled some and picked ones I liked.
It's more of a joke than a pun. So I was going to say it then, but I thought, no, we've got a section at the end that I know is coming. I'll hold off. But it's related to the Boston Tea Party. So
did you come up with this, or you found it at work?
I came up with it. So if it's that, it's all on me.
Original pun. You almost need a little jingle or something, Yeah. The sound of tea pouring. An original blend.
No, I just need to go to the toilet. Okay, so a fish was accused of drunk swimming after the Boston Tea Party. The judge ruled him guilty.
I thought we were going to go with like illiterate or something.
It wasn't a good joke. I probably put way too much.
So he was drunk. So I want to know the story about this fish. Was he drunk as a fish?
Well, he just had too much caffeine in his system because he, Sorry about that.
Should have leafed it alone. Is that what you're saying, huh? Anyway, my little bit of Googling, the ones I found that I liked was a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single steep. Ooh. Which I thought was just a good thing to have on a T-shirt, actually, or something, or in a mug or whatever. Yeah, I like that.
I quite like that.
Smells like tea spirit. Though if you try to advertise that, you'll get sued.
I did see that one, and
so I guess you could do. Well, I guess that was the album cover. Was the the baby in the water? Maybe he's drinking tea or something.
I might have to be creative with that one. I think I might have to put that one up on Twitter.
Some Photoshop stuff. Yeah. Either he's drinking tea or there's tea. Actually, it's the logo for this episode is what it is. It's the cover photo because it can be the Boston Tea Party with tea in the water.
Exactly.
It comes full circle. Yeah.
Okay.
This for all the gamers out there. Call of Duty.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Drink your tea before you blow someone away or snipe them from afar. So since it's the beginning of the day, mostly where you are, would you say you're having a Beautiful morning.
Ooh. Well, it's just past midday now, so it's a beautiful
I
afternoon.
know. I could have done that earlier, but it wouldn't. Yeah. And then this one, there were a lot of these. Actually, this particular site had a lot of like using this particular pun word and then using it in a million different ways that you could use it. And it got little. But the one I liked, actually, I changed this a little bit. So it is, and again, this could be definitely on a t-shirt. Do try this at home.
Oh, I like that.
It was don't try this at home, but you should try this at home because chai is wonderful.
It is. I did see another chai one that was it was like I'll give it away, but a shy looking teacup, and it was it was I'm sorry, I'm a little chai. Yep, I like that.
Can't get enough chai. All right. Well, I think that brings our episode to a close, however long we've been talking. Of course, it wasn't a short one, but we don't have short episodes on While There's Tea, There's Hope. We just have fun and talk for as long as we feel we need to.
Exactly.
Any final words, Tarran?
No. Other than I will be doing some Photoshop for the cover and see what we can come up with.
So after now that you've listened to this episode, you've reached the end. As you're done, go take a look at what the cover art is. Yeah. Exactly. Or check out the Twitter account or the website, which are, plug them real quick, Tarran.
Twitter account is the Tcast or at the Tcast. We will respond, answer, have some fun tea jokes with you at no one's expense.
And a pun or two, too.
A pun or tea. No, agree? Yeah, no, that didn't work. Or you can head over to the website, which is t-cast.com.
Okay, well, thank you very much for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know what you thought at any of these outlets, social media outlets. And otherwise, we will see you next time, either on a tea break or the next episode of While There Is Tea, There Is Hope. Happy drinking.
See you later.